once again to our week, and we're double header this week because we got enough 3 weeks news. It's going absolutely potty. Parliament, fortunately, going on holiday soon, and maybe it'll calm down so we can all have a bit of a rest. But what is happening, Marilyn, is very significant in a lot of ways.
Yes.
Tell you what, first of all, we're going to have a chat about, of course, the asylum seekers. And figures are coming out that we just don't believe. And the favourite figure, of course, there's two figures. That is 1 in 100 commits serious crimes that are coming over here. And actually 1 in 25 are sexual crimes. This is quite out of kilter with the normal criminal figures that are being issued.
Yeah. Well, I just think sometimes governments skew the figures anyway. They can't. I don't believe the stats. I mean, they will play it down and they will in some way rig them. I'm absolutely certain, sure. But it's just a nightmare. I mean, I was walking the dog this morning, and my neighbour, we were talking about breeds of dogs. And I said, it's weird how you don't get some breeds anymore. You don't see Afghan hounds anymore, do you? He said, see plenty of Afghans, see plenty of Afghans. I said, don't get me started. He said, have you seen the news this morning? I said, oh, don't. I don't think I can face it. But what was it? They're bringing in 23 relatives or something with them.
No, you got it wrong. There's only 22.
Oh, 22. I'm sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry. But I mean, yeah, I mean, and I am confused by this. You might be able to help my simple mind out. What I don't understand is this injunction was put in place with a super injunction to say the safety of these people that helped our troops. Why is that still not a risk now it's all been lifted? I don't understand it. Why didn't they bring them in, rescue them? And I don't understand. I
No,
don't
there's
understand
a
it.
lot to be dug up out of this one. One fact is, again, that 3 people have already been killed last week in Afghanistan. And from that list that was made available. So it is a real problem, but don't forget more stats. Only 1 in 15 have legitimate claim to come over to
Well,
the
in
UK.
fact, yes, Healy, what's his name? Healy,
John Healy, yep.
yeah, I quite like him actually. He did actually say that there's plenty that, yeah, their names are on the list, but they're not all qualifying for coming in here, which I thought that was quite honest for somebody from Labour. But I am puzzled by why. By lifting the injunction, how has that helped? Surely that's increased the risk for those in Afghanistan.
In this case, a super injunction. The difference being, of course, is that like the D notices in the good old days about newspapers being issued.
Yeah, I had one, don't forget. I had a D notice.
You did indeed. Congratulations, by
I
the way.
know. Well done,
Never
me.
mind the MBE, she's had a D notice, much more important. And you've got, well, a super restraint is the fact that, yes, you will be told if you've dug this up as a journalist working for the Telegraph, as an example, and you're told to keep your mouth shut. But the super part of it is that you can't even tell your colleagues at the Telegraph anything about it either. So it's between you, the government, and God. And good job, God's there, isn't it? Having said that, something stinks. I nearly
Oh,
said smell to be polite, but it does. It stinks.
it's got doggy do all over it.
Yes, I mean, you've got such an amount of truth and fiction, and especially with statistics, you can do what you like with them. Quote just from the base or the overall statistical problem or just what suits you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, we know there's a problem, and I don't think anybody, they must think the public are absolutely thick and stupid. I mean, we know how bad it is. I mean,
Yeah.
it's far worse than what is, and they saying 1 in 25 or 1 in 100. I believe it's far more than that.
Yes.
I believe there's far more than that that
Yes.
are doing. And don't forget, these are only the reported ones. How many people are not going to report because they're terrified that these people are violent, a lot of them violent thugs. I mean, what is also troubling me, which I saw yesterday, which is also absolutely stinks. And this isn't one in, one out. These are the gangs shipping children from our shores over into, I think it's into Dieppe, I think it is. And with the excuses, they want to go back to wherever they've come from because of language difficulties. I do not believe that for 1 minute. I swear those children are either going to be used for organs or sexual exploitation. There's no empathy in any of these gangs that's going to say, oh, bless them. These little ones, I mean, some of them are 5 years old. Oh, they're crying. They're in a refrigerated van. And the passage is something like, I don't know, nearly £2,000 to ship them back. The gangs aren't remotely
Well, I
interested.
think you've hit on something there that's important. It's not actually, it's £1,200 to
Right,
get.
okay.
Now, compared with the trip the other way, which is the same length, for goodness sake, why should it be that cheap? So somebody's making money here along the line, and it's big money. One
Oh,
thousand
it's big
two
money, but
hundred
it will
pounds is
be,
nothing.
it will also be the gangs the other side. I mean, who's going
Yes,
to get these children the other side? And I mean, there's no empathy in these gangs whatsoever. They're not going to be remotely moved by a child of 5 going, I don't like the language. I want to go back to my, there's no way. They will be handing over to people with nefarious behaviors, 100%. And I know the National Crime Agency are looking into it because you've got to remember these gangs and criminal organized crime is global. And the money on a child's head is huge. And it's a real worry. When I read that yesterday, I thought, oh, don't tell me this is just because of the language. You must think we are stupid. You know, there is a huge collateral financially on every child's head. And that's what this will be about.
yeah. Well,
Frightening. It's frightening. The brutality of these people is, I mean, golly, I just feel so sad about England as it is now and as it was. I really do feel sad about it.
well, we were talking before we came on air about Danny Kruger, who's MP. Uh, where is he now? Oh, well, where Stonehenge is. There we
Oh,
are.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Salisbury.
Wiltshire.
He stood up in the House of Commons and started off by his speech saying, "Oh, and we are putting this on air shortly because I think it touches many parts that people don't want perhaps to be touched."
Yeah.
And he said, "Mr. Speaker, we have a house here. Don't forget, it used to be a church, a chapel, and it was gifted to the politicians many centuries ago. And where you're sat, Mr. Speaker, actually was the altar."
Yeah, you can kind of see that, can't you, though? Now you've said it, it
Yes.
does have that churchy look about it. I agree with you.
So he said, but that's where it seems to have ended because here we are in a political movement, whichever party you belong to. And I'll tell you what's happened. Basically, he said, cutting it to the quick, is we've forgotten about God. The church has forgotten about God. And don't forget, the church were involved in all this gifting of this place. And they've just lost the plot. We've all lost the plot. And I'll tell you the significant thing is there was him stood up there giving one of the best speeches I've ever heard. And there was one member of the opposition on the other side of the house. In the whole chamber, there were 2 MPs.
It's absolutely. I mean, if there is a recess, the recess has started, hasn't it? So why are there any sittings in the House of Commons anyway? I don't. If there's a recess, there's a recess, or does it continue with random numbers saying random stuff or whatever? I don't know. But I'm going to listen to that speech because some of them are really good. But I mean, it's dreadful. You're paid MPs. If the House of Commons is open for sitting, you should all be there.
There are many sessions like that. There are
Oh,
very
there are. And
people.
you see them falling asleep in the rows and the chairs and benches.
Yeah. Well, they're just not interested. Come
No,
on,
they're not.
top and
They're
bottom of
not.
it.
Exactly. And it's no better in the House of Lords. I mean, most of them are nonagenarians, aren't they?
Well, yeah, but you've tried everything else and it's not working. It's
Well,
got worse by the day. And if Keir Starmer thinks he's going to get in, Everybody's written him off, even though it's going to be 4 years, as we mentioned.
But he's doing things without any debate. He's not, I don't know how he gets away with this. It is not democratic. He is signing things off and sorting things without any debate in the House of Commons. I don't understand how he can get away with that. How can he get away with this like one in, one out bit? When was that debated? I don't
He's
remember
a
seeing that debated.
lawyer, and lawyers get away with these things
Oh, they
all the
do.
time.
And then huge critique about Yvette Cooper this morning. And there was a thing about there that they are blocked from doing much because of the human rights lawyers. Well, number one, get rid of the Attorney General. He's a human rights lawyer. And Labour is riddled with human rights lawyers. And you've got to get out of the ECHR as well. It's just outrageous. And then, of course, when was there ever a debate about lowering the vote to age 16? When was that debate? Oh, and he's just passed it, just
I
like
mean,
that.
that is so blatant. And I'll tell you what else has snuck through. You mentioned things that we sneaked through, to use an English expression,
Yeah.
as opposed to the American. And one of the biggest things that is about to make the headlines, but we'll do it first, as we usually do, is the fact that we are trading still with Europe. When we were in the EU, we paid billions a year, and we rubbed our hands as being a very positive thing. We're out the trade. We're out the EU, and now we've got 92 billion or whatever it is to spend on more important problems that we have as a nation. But no, Keir Starmer this week has got an agreement, all on the quiet, that we can trade with Europe on one condition, that we pay the EU for the privilege. We might as well be back in
He'd
Europe.
just as well be
That's
back in
what
it.
he's done.
Yeah.
I mean, can you see America coming along and saying, right, we'll have 100,000 Renault, please, or Peugeot? Not that they would, because they don't like them. But let's give you an example of, let's say they did that. Now, Donald or anybody else, never mind, it's not just the Donald, would not pay a cent to do a trade. We're taking cars off you. You're making a profit. We have to pay, in addition to a trading profit, our ex-partners in the EU, we've got to pay for the civil servants to give us permission to do this. And we've got to get permission from Brussels and pay them a tariff. It's outrageous. We're back in Europe already. If we
Exactly. It's that, but you're back in Europe without any of the more visible things. The fact that you can, go and work over there without a whole load of paperwork and proving that you've lived there for 2 years. I mean, I voted to stay in because I was thinking of my children, because I never believed that coming out was going to sort out the immigration. I never believed that. And that's the only thing people, I think, voted to come out. That's what they believed in. And I voted to stay in because I didn't believe that. But there's lots of things that I do think the youngsters have had a much freer movement. Well, they did. You could freely move across.
Well, there was the Erasmus scheme, which I
Yes, that's
was
right.
into at one stage, but that was so full of bureaucracy, I gave up.
Yeah, yeah.
And no, it's not going to work. And all it does is feed the bureaucrats, feed the civil service but on both sides of the channel.
Well, I never voted when it was a common market, wasn't it? Wasn't that with Ted Heath? And I never voted for that. And I
That
was
was the biggest lie. Everybody said, "Oh,
yeah,
yes, it's sensible to have a common market, free trade."
I,
But
I never
suddenly
voted for it.
we
I
were
never voted
in,
for it.
and
You
they
know,
had control.
I know. I mean, why?
Wow.
I know. I was only a teenager. I said I'm not voting for that. But you go back to like the age 16. He is trying to rig the vote. That's what he's doing.
Oh,
He
yes,
knows full
clearly.
well that he's not going to get in with the adult vote. So let's now see if we can. But there's lots of teenagers that have been on air saying, I don't want to vote. I don't actually believe I'm old enough. And there are some sensible teenagers that are actually saying, I'm taking my exams, I'm doing this. I don't know enough about life or politics to actually make such a fundamentally responsible decision. And it's true. And there was somebody else saying that if you want these children to have the vote, then you've got to have something on the curriculum that teaches the kids politics and how I mean, how many of them know how the House of Commons works or how the House of Lords work? Oh, you're just going to put an X in the box there. You have to understand how the voting system works, how people are, how the cabinet works, how it works before I think you can put a cross on a. But I mean, it is ridiculous to think there was a whole list of things you can't do until you're 18.
I tell you what, something fascinating coming out about this that I didn't realize, and we have restaurants and many of them are licensed. But the things that you can do with a vote and that you still can't. And one of them is drinking till
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
18. But there's a way around it. And fancy me not knowing when I have to diverse my responsibilities. That's my excuse. And apparently you can have soft alcohol to age 16, for example, in a restaurant or pub, because as long as your parents, etc., guardians are with you, as long as it's cider, that's hardly soft alcohol these days,
No, not at
a
all.
beer or wine, then you're allowed, as long as it's with a meal, to have alcohol as low as 16 years of age. There you go. So
Well, right, yeah, I get that. I can see that. But I mean, I know when my kids all worked in pubs and restaurants, they weren't allowed. Now, what was it they weren't allowed to do? They weren't allowed to serve. They weren't allowed to
that's
do
right.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, they weren't allowed to serve. Yes, that's right, isn't it?
Yes,
Because they were not 18 yet, and then
that's
they
right.
could
Yeah.
serve it.
Yeah. I mean, detailed minutiae like this. And we have a go at any country, including Spain. But at least, and they've got an extremely left-wing government, as bad as UK at the moment, and they're producing laws to change the world all the time, just like Sir Keir and co. But I tell you what, the difference between the two countries is the police get advised, obviously, because they want to arrest the right people and, oh, you're breaking the law. But the police will go into a restaurant and they know things not as they should be. But depending on their mood and various other things, they turn a blind eye. They think, oh, come on, that's going over the top. Now, that would never happen in the UK because that's our God. The law is our God. Oh, you can't do that. It's against the law. Right. Get a bit of the Spanish attitude and let's get reality. Let's get justice and not laws, is what we keep saying.
Got enough laws coming out of our backsides, it's tripped up. I don't understand how I'm hooked on this 16-year-old thing. I suppose, okay, you could say, well, you can join the army when you're 16, can't you?
Yeah, but you
But
can't fight till you're 18.
exactly,
That's another
exactly.
half truth, of course, that
Yes,
keeps coming out from the
it's
left. Oh, well,
yeah.
you can be in the army. No, untrue. Half a truth is a
This
lie.
is half a truth. That's right, because you can't actually be on the front line until you're 18. And he is rigging the vote. He really is trying to, and I think it will all backfire on him because I don't think many people are. A lot of kids, I mean, very few were saying on air yesterday, "Oh, goody, goody, that's brilliant." I think it's ridiculous. You've only got to look how half the 16-year-olds are that behave or don't behave themselves. Think vaping's a great idea and this, that, and the other. Can't get out of bed for less than £40,000. They're going to get up and vote.
Perhaps they will, because don't
But
forget.
how does he have the audacity to shove this through something so important without
Exactly.
it being discussed?
Yeah.
And I don't understand why Lindsay Hoyle, because it hasn't got a part to play in this, because he is not running a democratic parliament. He is not.
No,
He's
he's
an abs.
Labour. He's
He, he's
Labour.
he is a complete Marxist, egotistic narcissist. I cannot bear the man. He's so pumped up himself. He really is. Did you
Well,
see the way
it's
he
the power
marched
thing.
down? Did you see the way he marched down all down Downing Street to the gates to meet that Guy Merckx, whatever he was from Germany? Oh my lord! I mean, honestly, and didn't he look like a little squat next to that tall man? He looked like one of the Diddy men.
Marilyn, his mother loves him. Don't forget that.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I'm not sure his wife does. I'd have been
Well,
long gone. I'd been too embarrassed to stay with him. I feel sorry for his children. I really do. I mean, how must it be to go to school and hear people banging on about your dad? Must
Well,
be
look at
awful.
John Burko. If anybody was power mad, it was him.
Oh,
It's
yes, he was.
it
Yeah.
comes with the throne.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that is
More
true.
stats for you. At the end of the century, we'll have 74, 75 million people. We'll be the most overpopulated in Europe. We ain't got any room. And when we go back to the figures aforementioned about crime, and let's mention what we keep mentioning, but it's ever true. Forget the boat, people. That's your shop window. It's what really goes on. How many
Mm.
people are being allowed in the country
Mm.
and their friends and family. It's horrendous. And we have paid for how many years? Our national insurance, our tax, and they're benefiting, and
Mm.
we can't.
Well, I mean, there was all those that uprising down in Epping, wasn't there, yesterday and the day
There
before?
was, and that was a shame because the usual thing happens, I believe, and it was obvious from those pictures. Well, the people of Epping were quite right to have a go. The loonies came in to
Yeah, yeah,
spoil it.
yeah.
They were shipped in from other towns. Nothing
Oh,
to
for
do with it.
sure. They're the ones that are always like climbing on the roofs of the transit vans, aren't they? And all of that.
Exactly.
They just want to fight basically. They don't really care what they're fighting about. But it does, I think, does show the under the layer anger. I mean, you don't talk to anyone without somebody like that guy this morning who said, "Yeah, we got a lot of Afghans then, regardless of the hounds." You know, people are cracking these jokes all the time, but they're underneath it. They're really serious about. I just don't understand what the problem is. Send them back. I mean, this rule is supposed to have come in, but no one's going back the other way, are they? Apart from very
It,
vulnerable children.
it will not happen. The authorities know it because you've got to get rid of ECHR or amend the clauses that are not reliable and liable after 70 years. That doesn't apply to it was okay 70 years ago after a war, but it's nothing to do. It's just
No,
lawyers making
no.
a quick buck.
I mean, these decisions that he makes, like the vote and the boats and all of this, I mean, that all has to go through the House of Lords, doesn't it?
I mean, the second chamber is there for a moderation purpose, but they've got no real power.
Right.
Whether their advice is accepted or not, that's up to the ones with the real power.
It's frightening.
That may not be your politicians, as you
No.
keep mentioning, back to the blob. Listen, we've got to lower our blood pressure, young lady. It's not doing us any good. No, it relieves us, doesn't it? It stops the steam blowing us up. Now, we've got another thing to consider that's very important, and that is people are moving back to London. Yes. Well, of course, everybody fled London in COVID times for very usually because they didn't want to catch COVID. And the house prices, hooray, went down quite a lot in parts of London. But they're going back. But the sad thing is, let's say they move, as this particular case, this lady was complaining in her 20s, late 20s. Good job in London. She's going back to rent, even though the rents are horrendous in London. So why? Well, she comes out, she buys a nice pad, quarter of the price in Hempstead, Hertfordshire, and every day she gets an hour's train journey, but it ain't that simple. She's got to get a taxi at some unearthly hour to the station. Then she gets the train. If it turns up, thanks to our wonderful train drivers, etc., or should I say the union.
Mhm.
And if she gets into London, then she goes on the underground, which is not, well, it's antisocial in
Yeah.
many ways. And then she eventually gets to the office an hour and a half, 2 hours later. So that's 3, 4 hours out of a day. And for that privilege, with cheap rail tickets, it works out at £1,000 a month with, as I say, cheap, special, discounted tickets. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, it
That's
is.
£12,000 a year. You can do a lot with that without the aggravation, picking up germs on public transport, getting yourself all knotted up. Will the train come in time? But before you work, you're exhausted.
Yes,
So she
exactly.
said, I might as well get a one-bedroom bed sit. No, that doesn't make sense. A bed sit, or even a flat with one bedroom. So she's worked it out. She's sweetness and light and at peace. And she thought escaping the big smoke would be the answer. And they're moving back in droves.
I don't get that. I really don't get that because everybody knows that the number of illegal migrants in London is horrendous. Absolutely. And I said, I can't remember who I was talking to, and I said, they said they'd come back in to London for something or other working. I said, and how did you find it? How have you, he said, oh, it changed so much. That's in 5 years.
It has. And
I try everything not to go in there.
no, we mentioned 2 or 3 shows ago that London has fallen from grace. It's not in the top five
Well, that's yes,
cities
we've
in
got
the world,
Sadiq
and it
Khan,
should
haven't
be.
we? You see, the wonderful Sadiq Khan.
Oh, Sadiq can't. Let's pronounce his.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. And something else that's has got to be said, and this time it's Manchester, third biggest airport in the country,
Hmm.
3 runways, important hub. Not literally the hub airport, but not far off it. Is it worth it? I mean, there are various ways to get to Manchester. It's less than half an hour away by taxi, but you're going to be paying up to £60 to get the taxi to the airport. Or you can go by car and have a drop-off point. And the cheapest drop-off point is 6 to 7 if you're picking people up or dropping them off. For 5 minutes, you pay in. It's unbelievable. Now, when you go on an airplane, it's not the most relaxing thing. You're tense enough anyway about the flight. Some people are, but a lot of people are, and the situation of a crowded airport. Is my bag going to get
Oh,
through, or have I got to pay £100, which is quite easy to do
yes,
because
yes.
it's two
That's happened to
centimeters
me. That's happened to
wider?
me.
Yeah, then it should be. A lot of tension in this, and all you need is more tension. And I'm thinking, flying. What's the matter with the train? And then I read this very morning, an agreement's been signed, and this is a good thing that's been hidden again from the news. They've decided to put a line or a special facility between London and Berlin. And it
Oh,
will do the journey in less time than waiting for the aeroplane, getting to the airplane two
well,
hours.
that's the thing, isn't it? It is all the beforehand and after stuff that is so arduous.
Exactly.
You've got to be there 2 hours or more, and oh, it is stressful. It is stress, and you never know where your gate is. And I mean, if when I go to Bermuda, the gate is the very, very last one. It's normally gate 48, and you have to allow about 20 minutes to walk there. And it's very stressful. That, as you say, that moment when your bag is on the weighing machine, you think, all that stuff. I no, I do agree with you. I think that I quite like trains, so that's going to go on under Eurostar then, isn't that?
Well, they've not totally decided, but I tell you what, my goodness me, it's going to be 10 years before you enjoy the facility. That's the usual
Yes.
bureaucratic nonsense. It can happen next year. And
Yeah.
again, the bureaucrats get in the way
Yeah.
because,
Yeah.
okay, there are certain parts of the line that will have to be made eventually, but not many. They could start now and say, well, look, it should only take 2 hours this journey or whatever. They can do it in eventually. It's going to take you 3 hours, which is still quicker than flying and a darn sight more relaxing.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
put up with certain parts of the line will be normal speed. So instead of 200 mile an hour, it'll slow down to 100 mile an hour. Big deal. Get it going now. It can be done. A business would do it,
Yes.
but not a government.
Gosh, it's ridiculous. And talking about air flights though as well, though, very, very sad the outcome from Air India, isn't it? I don't.
Yeah, we got sent a very interesting video from an air, and we got to be careful because there's that many people got that many opinions.
Mm.
But this guy, airline captain, trained other airline captains, And he spotted two things that are now coming out. One, the switches for the cutoff for the engines can't just be moved. It's like a medicine bottle to stop kids getting
Okay, yeah, well,
COVID.
that would make sense because
You've
otherwise
got
it
to
would be
stand on one
too
leg.
easy a mistake to make.
Exactly that. And to get that, somebody must have known what was going on.
Mm,
It now appears from the voice recording. I think the assistant talked to the main pilot.
yeah.
What's this switch he's doing that like this? Oh, and they too late turned it back on, and the engines were live when it crashed, but not for the right power. Obviously, too late. And he's saying one of the training features that they always do, and they're very careful. And this has not been proven yet, but you've got a type of fatigue whereby, as an example, one of the pilots will have had difficulty with family at home, brings it to work, and doesn't deliberately sort of kill them all sort of thing. You think, that's out of Dr. Strangelove, but is either distracted or reaches a stage, I don't care. And quite often the psychological pressure
Yes.
would present itself in this situation, and bang, it's over and done with. 200 odd people losing their lives.
I think it's, but it did say that people said could be quite maudlin. But they've looked into his mental health records, haven't they, of anxiety and all this stuff. I mean, you should have very stringent health checks and very regularly in order to fly the planes. You can't have, because it's not the first time it happened. There was somebody a few years ago, wasn't it, that drove into a mountain and he had problems. And I think it's just, you have to, I mean, it seems that the people knew that he had these problems, but he shouldn't have been allowed to fly the plane.
No.
It's not right. So these are like sloppy safeguarding risks, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, because of the way it happened and the black boxes being fully
Mm,
recovered, I think they'll get to the truth.
yeah.
But there's something else coming out of this, and that's the excellent safety record of the 380,
Yes. Yeah.
and generally the excellent safety of aeroplanes in general.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the odd door might fly off at 35,000 feet, but the aircraft survives
Yeah.
usually. And if you're not near that door, you might not even get sucked out. Oh, that's a horrible thought, isn't it?
Oh, don't.
Think of nightmares. But seriously, they've done the top airlines. There's been a big agreement. Let's do a top safety on the airlines. Now, it's fascinating. The ones that come out always near the top are Qantas, Australian airline, and New Zealand come out the top. But you've got to be careful with statistics, as we keep saying, because New Zealand Airlines have very restricted places they fly to.
Right.
And in other words, they probably won't be able to go into Gibraltar, Hong Kong, other difficult airports to get into. Top pilots only have got to go into these airports. So New Zealand, you're at the top of the list.
I'm surprised. I would have thought Emirates was.
Emirates are up there.
I love Emirates, and I've not flown Qatar Airlines, but they really are trying to be right up there to beat the Emirates, aren't they? I do like Emirates. I think the food is great, the service is great, the in-flight entertainment is great. Planes are clean. The stewards, the cabin crew always look incredibly smart. I think it's not dropped his standards at all. Whereas you get, the world is orange, EasyJet.
Listen, don't you go against your own. They've got lots of women pilots,
I know.
I know that's scary for you, but I mean, so a lady pilot together with a computer will fly your plane.
Yeah. I
People
don't know how you get away with it. I really don't.
are very frightened. Okay. Redressing the balance, it's called. No, behave yourself. Before we go, oh no, I must mention one thing. Who's at the bottom of the list? Well, the fringe airlines from countries along the Silk Road, wherever it is. And you've got to be careful of them. You've also got to be careful of Aeroflot, anything Russian. I've got a pal of mine that regularly flies in Russia. And he said, I get on board this plane, Rodney. He says, and the carpets are worn through. The seats have got one support for one arm. He says, and they're all broken. Wow. And I look at the safety record. I'm sorry, guys. And they tend not to be the Boeing aircraft family or the
No,
air.
well, they wouldn't, would they? No,
They wouldn't, would they? So be careful of that one.
They didn't.
Stay
And it's going to
clear.
be very interesting, I think, as well. I've been talking about like things like Russia, Putin, and what have you. Just winging this one in on the quiet. How Trump isn't going to be meeting the king. That's off the agenda now. So, it's
But
not.
it's got to be politics, hasn't it?
Of course it is. Of course, of course. But I wonder if he might now say, "Oh, I won't come then." Yeah. But I was surprised to see that because having had the invite that Keir Starmer so proudly offered up to him, it's a bit of a slap in the face, really, isn't it? But it will be to do with politics. That's all the royal family are, aren't they? Really, is political pawns that they get pushed around doing this, that, and the other, and bought out for when they need something to soften a situation. But yeah, we're running out of royals, really, aren't we?
Yeah, let's cheer you up a little bit. And we're going to the east coast of Italy, and we're going to tell you how you can live to 105
No, thanks.
because there's so many people. Well, it depends how fit you are. Yeah, a lot of people say that I don't want to live that long, and I can understand that if you're not well and you've got chronic disease of one sort or another. Let me tell you that the top scientists of the world are looking at Cilento, Italy. Now, that's on the east coast of Italy. And there are 300 at least inhabitants of that village that live over 100. And they've listed what's responsible for that. Well, it's complicated, but it tells us a lot of things. Number one, anchovies. They go big time on anchovies.
I love them.
Well, there you go. They're very salty, of
They
course.
reckon it's that, do they? Anchovies. I thought you were going to say olive oil and red wine and
Oh, yeah,
ice
that's all
cream.
part of it. No, anchovies are important because often they're in olive oil, of course. But they're an oily fish, which is good for the omega-3, etc., isn't it? So that's the first thing. And beef, they hardly have any beef.
Yeah. But you
They do.
see, that's the same thing in Greece, isn't it? Greece have the least amount of heart attacks, don't they? Because they don't have their diet is so good that they don't have a lot of cardiac problems.
No, olive oil you've mentioned, that's quite right. I mean, they've gone and been so bold as to say, take 2 dessertspoonful of olive oil daily as a medicine.
I have a thing about textures. I mean I might try it and see, but I know I tried my daughter-in-law's told me to buy coconut oil paste and have two
Yes,
teaspoons of that or one
very
teaspoon a
fatty.
day or something. Really good for up here and all the rest of it. I nearly gagged on it. It was just so
Yes,
disgusting.
I don't like that.
It's disgusting, and I'm not sure that I could. Oh, I don't think I could drink two dessert spoons, you said. Dessert spoons of olive oil.
Dessertspoons a day. Well,
But
you can
no,
do that by, as we mentioned last week, indeed. Uh, Instead of putting butter on your toast,
yeah,
get
yeah,
extra
yeah,
virgin,
yeah.
not the nasty stuff that tastes
No, but that
rancid.
that that, that isn't quite the same as like necking it, is it? Two
No,
two dessert
no.
spoons. Ugh,
Well,
gully, gully, gully.
don't put too much on until you get used to it, and then you'll like it. Like everything else, you
Yeah,
get
it's
used
probably
to.
true. Probably true.
The next thing that has come up on the list is family life. Families are sticking
Mm,
together.
mm, mm.
And it's good that the old people can chat to their
I
granddaughters,
think that's
great
absolutely right. 100%
grandchildren.
right. That's absolutely right. And in the dementia groups that I belong to with
Yeah,
Roger,
there's no dementia. There's
No,
no
well,
Alzheimer's.
that's interesting, isn't it? You see, because they're not lonely; they're involved in family, and it is very important that because they say anxiety and depression can actually cause dementia. But when we have our meetings, this dementia charity we belong to, and all that, it's xenophobic white. There's no one of any ethnic um, sort of culture at all, and I sometimes wonder if that's because other cultures look after and they don't need to go to all these different support groups because the family support. There's a
Yeah.
dementia group the other day. They said, we need to get more ethnic people in. I said, I don't think you will get them because they probably laugh at us thinking, why do you need them? Because we look after old great uncle so and so, and it's true, they do. It's
Well,
the same.
apart from being no Alzheimer's, apart from the Mediterranean diet, we mustn't forget that, of course, very important. They're big on religion, Christianity,
Mm,
and that helps them to be more tranquil
mm.
and have prayer times. And it's startling to read one statistic. There are no old people's homes, and it's a big fish.
Wow.
They don't exist. They don't need them.
Well, they don't need them, you see, do they? No. I mean, it's like when I lived in Portugal, people could not understand about the concept of babysitting. You know, you wouldn't have a babysitter, or your auntie came round or granny came round, and you know yourself on a Sunday lunchtime, you cannot move in the bars and restaurants of Portugal because you've got about seating for 14, 16 family members. And it's a lovely thing to see, actually. It's a lovely thing to see.
It is. Right, I'm going to talk about France. They've gone big time on banning smoking everywhere. Now,
Right. Good
I'm
for
not
them.
objecting to that because we've been through the mill doing a lot of filming in theatres and clubs over the years. And I was used to be very fed up about walking out at midnight and whatever and having a throat on me from
Mm,
the passive smoke.
mm. Yes, right.
And when they stopped that, I rejoiced. It was such a difference. France have gone into this big time because they ban smoking now in parks, in bush shelters, in on beaches. So you don't have to avoid the fag ends on your beach
Well,
anymore.
that's right. Exactly. They just stick him in the sand. It's
Yes.
awful.
So I that's good.
I think it's good. I absolutely think that's good because I mean, the relief of when we had it stopped in bars and restaurants and cinemas, and do you remember when people used to smoke on planes? People
Yes.
used to just awful. You just come off smelling like an ashtray. It's just disgusting. And it's just so lovely to go into places now where there is no smoke. It's very obvious as well. You can smell cigarette smoke a mile off, can't you? You just know when someone's lit up. There's someone. Funnily enough, I do quite like that smell. But I just the freedom. And my kids that worked in pubs when they were sort of teenagers, and you could smell them walking through the front door. Their clothes all the time had to be washed, and they weren't smokers.
No, it gets in the cushions, the sofa,
Yeah.
everything. It's a wicked drug because that's what it is. Listen, finally, time's gone. We've got to listen to the Ukrainians that are really complaining about the British soldiers. And you think, why? We do a lot, and we have mentioned this on previous programs. We might look not to be giving missiles other people, other countries do. But our army is so important. We train behind the scenes and they
Mm.
get a lot of bang for the buck. But they're complaining now, the Ukrainians, and they're complaining because of risk assessment. They're tired of somebody standing up and training them. They fly over to Britain to be trained, as an example. Presume go to Aldershot and places like that where they got all the facilities. And they say, I don't understand this. Why do a risk assessment before you want to go in there and fight a war? And that's a British disease, goes on in a lot of countries, but especially British disease. And you can see it, again, we've mentioned it before, in the adverts that the army are now relying on to recruit more troops. There's the famous one of recruiting all nations into our army. But before they fire across the valley, there's a sort of risk assessment element. Should we go and do this? And oh, by the way, that's a Muslim. Let him face east before he goes in the battle. And you see this smoke all round, guns firing, and he's allowed to look over the big valley before they take on the heights, the other side of the valley, and rush across there, doing his bit of prayer. He's got to pray 5 times a day. And this is on an advert recruiting all nations into our army. Well, all nations are welcome. But for goodness sake, what sort of people are we going to get in there?
Well,
What sort of fighting unit allows people to have this luxury? And it gets even better when the Navy come along and they show ladies who they particularly want in the Navy, apparently now, come in the Navy, you can play football. This is the whole advert. It shows the lionesses or the potential lionesses playing football. Come into the Navy and play football. What are we going to finish up with?
just when you think it can't get any more stupid or worse. Oh my word. Goodness me. Oh dear Lord.
I was going to volunteer you. You give it some welly, wouldn't you? And on that note, we have to go.
We'll go. Off you go then. Well, thank you. And I'll see you next week. Very good. Thank you very much. I'm sure there's going to be a whole load of stuff probably in the news this weekend. So we'll be at it again, no doubt. So yeah, have a good weekend.
We shall have to rename this show as From the Sublime to the Ridiculous, because that's the only way to sum up where we are.
It's true. It's absolutely true. It's absolutely true. Have a good weekend, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.